Good evening. Welcome to the City of River Falls Municipal Utility Advisory Board meeting for Monday, March 18th. We have a roll call, please.
Mashevsky.
Here.
Odine.
Here.
Swanson. Richter. Here. Spafford. Toom.
Here.
Wells Mangold.
Here.
Looking for approval of the minutes from the January 21st meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Minutes are approved. Now is the time for public comments. If anybody has any comments. Patricia?
I've been in front of you 6 or 7 times, and I still get nervous doing this. My name is Patricia LaRue, and I live in River Falls. In 2016, our hydroelectric facilities generated over 2.1 million kilowatt hours. In 2017, we were set to surpass that amount. But in 2018, our generation dropped to just over 1.2 million. In the spirit of providing the public with an explanation of those numbers, I wanted to appear before you in person and to make a record of last year's events, which led to the lower generation by the hydros. I wanted to do so before the issue is interpreted that in some way the hydros have outlived their usefulness. They haven't. As you know, in 2017, our municipal utilities were in the process of building a new substation. During the process of building the new substation, all feeders and cables had to be transferred from our power plant to the new substation. In addition, Xcel Energy had to remove all of its equipment from our power plant. Before this work could be done, the hydro generators had to be shut down. That is, we couldn't have electricity going through equipment next to equipment that was being removed. To be clear, shutting down the hydros had nothing to do with the integrity of the hydros themselves. In November 2017, the hydros were producing just fine, and like I mentioned earlier, we were on track to exceed 2016 production. But Xcel Energy's work had to get done, and the hydros had to be shut down for them to do it. In late November 2017, the expectation was that shutting down the generation would be for a period of 2 to 4 weeks. But by the end of December, the work had not been completed. December bled into January, and January into February. In February 2018, the Twin Cities hosted the Super Bowl. In that regard, Xcel Energy was foreclosed on performing any changes pertaining to their operations. In effect, Xcel had a stop work order with regard to the removal of equipment from our power plant. The hydros remained shut down. In early March, and after more than 3 months of being silenced, the hydros were restarted. Shortly after they resumed operation, a current transformer malfunctioned, and although a replacement part cost only $300, out of an abundance of caution and a well-advised decision was made to test the system before resuming generation. In March, the company Energis was in town. They were still working on the transfers to the new station and were able to give us an estimate on the cost to test Junction Falls. The estimate was provided on March 22nd, but because Mr. Westhouse is unable to go forward with any expenditure that exceeds $5,000, he had to wait until the next Utility Advisory Board meeting to ask for approval to spend the money. The next UAB wasn't until April 16th. By that time, Energis was no longer in town on a steady basis. On April 16th, UAB approved the expense. In an effort to save on travel costs, Mr. Westhouse arranged for the testing of Junction Falls equipment to take place on a date when the folks from Energis were in town. They performed the testing on Junction Falls, which was found to be sound, and we were generating again back online by May 11th. The final expense to test Junction Falls was just a little over $7,000. The utilities lost over $10,000 in revenues because we had to wait for approval to spend what added up to be $7,200. Although hydro generation will be below average this year, most of the lost generation, that is 5 weeks in 2017 and 10 weeks in 2018, had nothing to do with the abilities of the hydros to produce electricity. Further, the restraints placed on Mr. Westhouse to make a $7,000 decision without the approval of the board cost an extra 5-week delay. In a nutshell, our hydros continue to operate well, continue to pay for themselves, and continue to provide community with renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I just may. Patricia, I want to thank you for keeping us informed and aware of issues with the hydro. You've done it for quite some time now, and we depend on you.
Well,
So I
and thank
appreciate-
you. Oh, thank you. And I do want you to know that when I get my numbers, I know earlier there was concern that you guys were getting numbers from all over the place. I talked to Julie. I know how to read the PSC reports. I go to see which checks. That's how I know how much the check was. I saw what the check to Energis was. I don't make these things up. And I've talked to Kevin a few times. If I say something wrong, correct me, because I don't want to go out there saying something wrong. I do know that when I started this, I tried to find a concise place where I could find information. And you guys all have institutional knowledge. You know what happened last year, but unless there's a concise, this is what happened, et cetera, someone trying to find out 5 years from now, well, why was it down to 1.2, wouldn't be able to figure it out. So thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, it's the acknowledgement of the West Central Wisconsin's Biosolids Facility Commission minutes and the Powerful Choices Committee meeting minutes.
Move approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Consent agenda is approved. We are on to reports.
I do have a report for the 2018 end of year annual report. I thought sometimes we go through years, we do a lot of things. I thought it might be nice just to take 15 minutes or so and go through our annual report. Just remind folks what we worked on with our electric, water, and wastewater utilities in 2018. So I'll take them up there, have a little PowerPoint ready to go. I was also going to wait until my director's report to talk about the hydros and mention something, but so last Friday we had to shut them down over the weekend, just because, not so much because of the high water, but because of what's in the high water. So the debris that was coming down was starting to get into our turbines, so we shut them down on Friday, and I believe they restarted them today. So again, that's our hydro operator's prerogative. He sees that. He's dealing with stuff coming in there, has to keep them safe and efficient. So, but I think they went back online today. At least that was the plan this morning in our staff meeting. It's 2018. It was a pretty busy year once again. And this is in your packets. Our mission statement once again is, we have one main purpose: to provide customers with safe and reliable electric, water, and wastewater services at the best overall value. I really want to emphasize the word best overall value there. And we know we are very low in the rates. We're very competitive rates, but I think there's more to rates than just the price of electricity. It's the response times, it's the outage times, it's the quality line persons that we have. That really adds to the value of the community, I believe. So we focus on value. Here's our staff. We added when you get to so you'll see Luke Ballman in the lower right corner there. Luke just passed his second year journeyman's test, and we have another one coming up here. Up in the upper left corner, Garrett Lease. He also passed his second year journeyman's test just 2 weeks ago, and Garrett got 100%. So congratulations, Garrett. And I think Luke got a 92.5, and he would not mind me saying that because he brought it up when we were talking. He goes, Garrett beat me on that test. So, and then Logan Schneider, right in the middle. Logan is, believe it or not, he's been here 4 years already, and later this week he'll be going to take his journeyman's exam to become a full licensed journeyman. So we have 3 really good new quality people. They're going to be the next generation for our utility. So we're excited about that.
Great.
There's some of our water staff. Dean Seamuth, we got him from Ashland in the middle on the left there. He came in the middle of the year last year, so he's really happy to be here from Ashland, I guess closer to some of his family that live in the cities area. And then also Stacy Running in the lower bottom right. She's our new WPPI rep. She replaced Weston Arndt, and she's been really good with customers. Don Hill, upper left corner, he'll be retiring later this month, and we're actually having a party for him, Lene, on the 30th in the afternoon. So if you see Don Hill around town, you're welcome to come that day too. Don is retiring after 30-plus years of service with the city. So good for him and his family. Here's our financial summary. What I like, just a quick glance at this graph, you can see where the revenues exceed the expenses in electric, water, and wastewater. So without getting into the weeds on that, that is a positive. Here's our capital improvement plan that we developed. Those are the big projects we're looking forward to for the next 5 years, outlined there. This is a big deal right here. So electric reliability, especially when you compare it to others. So how reliable is the electricity in River Falls? We're 99.9913% reliable. So by itself, that sounds like a really good number. But if you go down to the bullet points and you can compare it to the regionals and the national levels, you can even see we're better than both regional and national. And outage times in River Falls are fairly infrequent, and when they're there, we usually get our line crews out relatively quickly to fix them. You can also see in the graph below what the largest percentages were to squirrels. We talk about that. So, there's more information on outages. Let's see, I'm going to kind of go through this with you. Pretty similar, pretty consistent over the years. Power plant substation, that was finally finished up in 2018. It kind of was a 2017, 2018 project that is working well. Our SCADA system is even now operational as well at the power plant substation. So, and then that old transformer in the lower left corner, that's the one we're having rebuilt to use at the South Fork substation. So we're going to reuse that, repurpose that transformer. 2018 projects, we did the Gulfview area cable replacement. We did Aldi's, Culver's, Anchor Paper, which you see being built along the interstate in Whitetail Ridge Corporate Park. River Falls High School plan reviews, Greenwood Elementary's reviews. There'll be a lot of stuff going on with the schools coming up here in 2019 and 2020. Sterling Ponds Corporate Park First Edition, power plant project completed. Like I said, Winter Street. We're running a circuit from the power plant substation all the way out to Double M. It was the old Double M. So that's going to be a 2 or 3 year project. We got a third of that done last year, another third done this year. And then in 2020, we'll be getting out to Double M. Eventually, that's going to then go out to Radio Road in Man Valley area. Let me see. Power outage, we're all familiar with the big one out in Sterling Ponds. You can see that cable how was damaged by a stake being driven right into it. And that was our biggest outage of the year. And our guys right there in the trench in the picture getting that fixed. Some new meter installation. There's some pictures of some gear that we have. Some of the new AMI meters in the lower picture. There's a bunch of elbows plugged on a primary side of a transformer, and then it's just the right picture there is secondary. The secondary that goes to the building. So primary is coming in from the main feeder. There's culvers. Joint trench installations. Every time we put in cable in new subdivisions especially, or any time we're going from overhead to underground, we're always calling the partnering utilities, cable, phone, fiber, and trying to get them to go in the trench with us. That's actually a job that's not very fun, and Wayne Cyberling does a great job with that. Safety awards, those are always fun to win. We really do put a big emphasis on safety. Our goal isn't to win awards, but it's always nice when we're recognized for being safe. So you can see some of the safety awards that were presented in the picture below. Also, we've got, again, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, top 10 for green power. We're very proud of that we have over 10% of our customers that are voluntarily participating in a green block program, and they pay $3 extra a month. That is amazing to me, so that actually happens. So that's some of our awards, safety awards, and the green power awards. Focus on energy, always giving back. This is a big deal here too, so River Falls Municipal Utility customers contributed $53,000 to participate in the Focus on Energy program. And between Mike Noreen and our WPPI reps, we were able to bring $169,000 back into the community. I guess for the layperson, we would call that a pretty good investment. Invest 53, get almost $170,000 back into the community. There's some big checks being presented to some people in different locations. I think the university was a recipient of some of that this year as well. The next one's kind of fun. WPPI Energy, they do a yearly calendar, and we are September. There's a picture of our football field there, Friday Night Lights. Looks like a nice September picture. Green teams out there always trying to do good things for the community. Here they're on buckthorn removal. Every year they get out and spend their lunch hour clearing buckthorn along the river. Corporate Leaders Breakfast. We did take a hiatus here in 2019, but we've been doing that for about 5 years in a row up till then. And last year we had Craig Culver in town. It was fun to hear Craig Culver's story from him and his family. And I guess what you focus on expands, because we had him in January, and by the end of the year we had a Culver's in town. So that worked out pretty well. Let me go back one. WPPI Energy, some more awards that were given out. We had a Shining Star Award that was given to Wayne Cyberling, our electric superintendent. And he was just up and rising star. We had a Volunteer Public Power Award. I got that one. I think someone recognized me for a lot of the broadcasting I do in my spare time. On that, I think we did like 120 events for high school sports this year. So that's just all at night in our spare time. So anyway, someone recognized that. And then we have Mike Noreen won the Individual Achievement Award for his conservation efforts. As you can see, bringing $170,000 back into town. So again, it's not in our written goals to win awards. It's just not. But it's nice when people recognize you. Landlord Connections. This is one I'm proud of, actually. I started this about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. So when I first came, I want to give a little background on this. When I very first came to town, there was this huge triangulation thing going on between the utility, the renter, and the landlord. Renters didn't pay. The landlords were mad that we weren't chasing the renters hard enough. The renters said, no, it's a landlord's problem. It would go on the landlord's tax roll. They'd end up paying for it anyway. So it was... The bottom line there was landlords didn't think the utility was working hard enough to get the money from the renters to pay the utility bills. So I said, first of all, us and the landlord should be working together to be able to do that. So I started this thing called Landlord Connections, where I thought we could start a dialogue with the landlords. And it's really evolved into the utility adding value to landlords and their business, teaching them and dialoguing about all kinds of great things that relate to being a landlord in River Falls. So I can't believe we had one again a couple weeks ago and 70 people show up at this thing. So it's amazing that Landlord Connections always brings between 60 and 80 people at 7 a.m. And we cover very good topics. A lot of times we have city staff that come, zoning, police department, and guest speakers. Last time we did one on 1031 exchanges. So if you have a property and you want to roll the money in to buy a new property, but we spent about 20 minutes on that, and it seemed like they got good value out of it. Anyway, it's a program that's worked to help us develop our relationships with a very important segment of our population. Actually, over half of the buildings are owned by somebody else and rented out, so we've really cementing that relationship with the landlords. SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. We've done that this year for electric and water and wastewater. This is a huge milestone. It goes unnoticed, but now we have Ron Groth right now with his iPad at home. If he gets an alarm, he can pull up his iPad, see where the alarm is, see what the problem is, and often rectify it right from his house. So, and if not, he can get somebody out to fix it as soon as possible. He told me he actually sleeps better at night that he has that now. So knowing that the problems are going to be alerted and notified right now. We have the same capability now with electric and wastewater as well. So that's a big deal. It's something that the customers don't know about, but it actually is making our system more reliable. We did a business plan for electric and water over the last year. There's the water business plan. You guys heard all about that. We did our annual hydrant flushing. We did a wet dive in Sycamore Tower. I put that kind of on the bottom. I think we actually had someone in a scuba suit go in there, believe it or not. I should see a movie of that. Well 5, we had a coliform issue, if you remember that, from the middle of the year last year. Guess it was maybe earlier in the year, March, April-ish, but we did finally get that rectified by basically pulling out pumps and redoing that at well 5, and that's been safe ever since. We do weekly testing. Manhole rehabilitation, again, we have money to spend on that every year, and I believe Tamara is going to be here at the next meeting talking to you about that again, and sewer lining. So, again, we have these old manholes. They have a company that comes in. You can see Greg Kaler there. They take out the old brick and they pour in the new forms and new concrete and makes them last another 50 to 60 years. Energy savings. So we built a new wastewater treatment plant. We said, hey, we're going to save some money out there when the new one is in. And you can see there we saved almost $48,000 in energy, saved $9,000 in hauling costs, and we were 900,000 gallons more efficient with the new plant. Also this morning I talked to Ron, and we had all that melting last week and a lot of water flowing. Typically that's a 1.3 million gallon a day plant. That's what comes into our wastewater treatment plant, 1.3 million gallons a day. Last Friday we had 2.5 million gallons that came in that plant. So infiltration through some of cracked sewer lines, sewer manhole covers that aren't sealed, so water flowing in the street. So we gained, almost doubled our capacity on last Friday. So when they got colder over the weekend, that calmed down again. And we're able to handle it. We had both of our ditches running. We only had one of our clarifiers running. We still have another one on spare. And Ron was able to keep all the bacteria in balance. But he said if it got up to 3.5, where our system would get diluted at the plant, then the bacteria levels get too low, and then what's called losing it, then you don't have the bacteria to treat the stuff. But he said we aren't there yet. But if it got up to a worst case scenario, that's what would happen. It should be bad. It'd take like a month to get that back. But last Friday, 2.5 million gallons. They were on it. They were handling it, and it was working well. Sludge ditch, that's demolished, and we're going to be doing some landscaping around that this spring. That's where the old exterior sludge storage was, which is now inside the building. We continue to have ragging issues. Has anybody been to the movies and seen Patty Potty at the movies? So we showed that video. I saw a few people that said, hey, we saw that goofy video with Patty Potty about what not to flush down the toilet. So anyway, we keep trying to educate people, and we know that is probably going to help as education, so we think we may have found a kitschy way to do that. Vac truck, again, that's coming in handy in many ways. We have specific issues. We get the vac truck out, and we also used that during some of this flooding last week as well, sucking out anything from basements to holes to whatever. So the vac truck's really doing miracles for us. Here's sewer televising. That's what Tamara's going to talk to you about next time, and she's probably show you some video again of bad pipes and good pipes, and let her do her deal. It's always kind of interesting. Cleaning lift stations, we continue to do that. We're using that vac truck. Remember, you guys approved $55,000 to the St. Croix Valley Business Innovation Center, which has been, I think, a bigger success than they had anticipated. It's almost completely leased out, not quite, but leases are in there, and hopefully eventually helping to create jobs for the area. Here's some more new department hires. Let me go back one. Journeyman, Pat Oja. We got him. We interviewed him a couple times, and he didn't get the job. And then the more we thought about it, we wanted him. Then we couldn't get him. And Karen Bergstrom, our HR director, did a nice job in convincing Pat to come, and just a great fit with our department. And I already talked about Dean, who came from Ashland. Employee recognition. I had 5 years of service. That went fast. I'm up to 6 years already. Virgil, 40 years and going strong down there. I think he's going for the all-time record, maybe. Well, we corrected an emergency phone number issue where people would call in and get hung up on. We got that corrected with our on-call service with my receptionist. And I want to say that's it, but it's, you know, it's more than that's it, but that was a good snapshot of 2018. A lot of things, you know, I don't want to jinx anybody, but I think we've got a great group of guys in the electric department, in the water department, in the wastewater department, our interior staff. These guys are gelling. We've got great leadership at those levels. We're feeling good about where we're at right now. I think we've come a long way in 5 or 6 years. There's always room to grow. We remind those guys every day about being safe. That's priority number one. When you come to work in the morning, we want everybody to be able to go home at night and go home safely. So we focus on that as our top priority. And then, of course, customer service, being more efficient, always asking why. And I don't know, we had a good bunch of guys, and I feel fortunate to have them, and they really, their heart is in it, is what I could say. So anyway, thanks for listening to that, and it's a privilege to be the utility director here at River Falls Municipal Utilities, so thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. All right, we have the finance report.
I have that in front of me here. Things are looking pretty good as expected. For electric funds, year-to-date revenues are $2.2 million. Expenses are $2.1 million. So we're positive income there of $88,710. Cash and investments reserves total $5.5 million. Water fund year-to-date revenues are $286,000. Year-to-date expenses are $307,000. So we're a little bit under in water, but that's to be expected as we know our water revenue. So we're always running a little bit behind in water, and then we catch up in June, July, August, September. Sewer fund, we're doing really well there. Year-to-date revenues are $598, and expenses are $386, so resulting in a positive income of $211. So that's an increase of $26,000 over last year. We have the cash investment reserves of $4.2 million in the sewer fund. In the stormwater fund, revenues this year $100,000, and expenses $69,000, so positive income there of $31,000. And cash and investments in the stormwater fund totaling $485,900. So everything is on track, doing well. What?
We have the others.
The otters?
No. We had an audit, that's why.
Audit. Oh, it wasn't in the packet, because, yeah, I just said, why are we talking about otters?
Where's the otters?
Auditors. I'm not otters. That reminds me of something else, so, but I'm going to mention in a minute. So yeah, we had the auditors here, so that's why it was not in the packet. But we did build an osprey tower. I don't know if some of you saw that on social media, but we worked with some local birding groups, and out by the wastewater treatment plant, we have an osprey tower. So we're going to see if an osprey nests on the osprey tower. We shall see. We even built a little platform, so if one does come there, we could even put a camera up. So it could be fun. We'll see what happens. So maybe we'll get a bald eagle or something. Who knows? But it's a tower on a big pillar. So
Great.
we have. That's what I have on the finance report.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to discuss on the dashboards at all? Then we can move on to the monthly report.
Well, I think I kind of weaved in the highlights. Again, we have all of our crews, both electric, water, and wastewater. They're all chipping in with the street department over this last week, handling the flooding issues, pumping out ditches, pumping out basements, removing snow from storm basins. So it's kind of all hands on deck with the flooding that's been going on. We're assuming this week again, with the warm weather we're anticipating, we're probably going to have maybe not a total repeat, but we're anticipating some high water again later this week. So get through this, and then the construction season will start April 1st when the snow melts. Probably about how it's going to go.
April Fools.
April Fools, right? Yeah. So that's all I have, Adam, on that.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss? For a motion to adjourn?
Move adjournment. Second.
We're adjourned.
Thanks for your patience tonight. Appreciate it.